Good afternoon, and welcome to Brunch and Budget on Bonfire Radio with your host, Pamela Capallan, a certified financial planner here to help take the bite out of your budget. Brunchandbudget.com. I'm your sound provider, Dialect, and here's your host, Pamela Capallan.
Thank you, Dialect. You've been such a good sound provider.
Well, it's not a very difficult job. You just provide
Sounds.
sound.
Sounds and songs. Well, you know.
There's not a lot of requirement on me to as long as sound happens. If I could enter the show,
Well, that's what I'm saying. You don't do that. You're a good sound provider.
well, I mean that wouldn't be a bad sound provider. That would just be a non-English sound
You're
provider.
a coherent and understandable and English sound provider. Thank you. I'm just saying I appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone listening as well. Thank you all for tuning in.
We appreciate your sound absorption.
Yes. Thank you all, sound absorbers, for listening. So today we are going to be talking about what it really means to budget.
What does it really mean to budget?
Yeah, and this show is called Brunch and Budget. My business is called Brunch and Budget, and I feel like people recoil at the word budget a little bit. You gotta soften it a little bit with some mimosas and eggs and stuff. And the thing is, a budget in a lot of people's heads is equated with restriction. And so we want to talk about what it actually means to budget. And I mean, personally, I hate budgeting. So I want to talk through some tips and tricks and really the essence of why it's important to really look at your money. But before that, we're going to do an investment appetizer. And it's going to be a simple one today. It is just an annual budget. So an annual budget is actually something that many businesses and companies do, is they look at what they predict their costs are going to be for an entire year, and that will usually help them plan for big expenditures that are coming up. It'll give them an idea of what kind of income they're expecting. And corporations, governments, other types of organizations are usually governments are required to set up annual budgets, and corporations are usually required to set up annual budgets, and organizations as well. And sometimes it's a requirement by some governing body, and sometimes it's just a requirement by the organization to say, hey, listen, we need to see what our expenses look like on an annual basis to be able to plan for, are we able to hire someone else? Are we able to give raises this year? Are we able to, when your boss is like, I don't know if it's in the budget, it's because they already looked at it that year. So they already know what the annual budget is. So yeah, annual budget. Pretty simple for today's investment appetizer.
What is there anything that we as not yet but possibly prospective company owners need to know about an annual budget?
Well, you could do one too. So individuals sometimes also put together annual budgets, and I encourage that myself. I actually call it 12-month cash flow projections. So that is another way for us to also see what our expenses are like as well, and then to also be able to plan. It's not something that's as common. We usually look at monthly budget. We usually look at our budgets month to month, and so I feel I'm actually going to talk about that. You ruined my surprise, Dialect. But yeah, 12-month cash flow projection is something we talk a lot about on the show, especially when it comes to freelancers and being able to plan, because freelancers are basically businesses that are run by you and you're the only one in it. So being able to see what your income is and what your expenses are for the year as a freelancer gives you an idea of, okay, so this is what I have to work with, and this is what I think I'm going to have to work with, and also this is what I need to work towards. So I feel like that by looking at things on an annual basis and getting an idea of that big picture in your head, you can start to look at everything on a smaller level and understand what the context is of all of this other stuff. And I imagine that's why corporations and governments and other organizations choose to do annual budgets, because it just gives them an idea of, in the day-to-day, what they're actually working towards. So it's an annual budget.
All right, annual
Everybody.
budgets.
Yeah. So budgets. Yes, we are going to talk about what it really means to budget. And I feel like that people have an idea in their heads of what it actually is, or what they think it is, and what they need to be doing. It's this image of spreadsheets and tracking every dollar, and restricting yourself and things like that. I feel like that, for a lot of people it can feel punitive. It's not fluid. It feels too rigid. It's too time consuming. The thing that I've often heard is, oh God, I just like spent outside of my budget this month, or oh man, I over budget this month. And it's one of those things where it's like, and what do I do after that, right?
Right. Was there like a penalty you have to pay to yourself?
I know, exactly. It's like
swear jar.
Yeah, and you keep living your life, right? It's you just kind of being hard on yourself. And
I mean, sometimes when budgets are really rigid, then you just are out of money.
Right, exactly. Well, in some cases, yes, that is the case. And the budget in those cases means that you're just, you might need to make more money.
Is that easy?
Well, I mean,
man,
it's not easy.
The whole time, instead of having a budget,
just make more money, dialect.
Just make more money, people. That's what it is.
No. But it could be an indication in a lot of ways, and I think a budget is one of those things where it's a good guideline. So a budget is something where when you put it together, it gives you an idea of, okay, so this is where I typically spend every single month. And your budget should be based in reality. That's another thing, is I feel like a lot of people are like, well, I wish I spent this much on food, so I'm going to write that number down. Or I hope I spend this much on shopping, so I'm going to write that number down. And I feel like that people also start creating budgets not based in a place of reality. I think that's another big mistake that people tend to make.
Well, I mean, it's really tough. Where do you start? You oftentimes when we're shown how to make a budget, or what I remember is, we don't get a lot of financial literacy in school, but we do often get taught a couple of things about money here or there.
Yeah, it's like
happens.
You balance a checkbook and you get a spreadsheet on writing down your expenses.
Yeah. I mean,
those are the two things, right?
Those are mainly the most things. But there are a lot of places where people will teach you how to budget. A lot of programs and things like that. A lot of non-finance people will teach you how to budget, and it's a math thing.
Yeah,
you start out with the number you got, and then you break everything up accordingly. And it doesn't matter how much you eat. You got to spend a certain percentage on food and not much else.
Right. That's the other weird thing about people in there, because that's the question I often get. It's like, what percentage should I be spending on food, and what percentage should I be saving, and all of that stuff? And it's like, I don't know.
Well, as a non-finance trained person, this is what I'm thinking about. My food budget is that it needs to be a percentage of what I'm eating, not like a reflection of how hungry I am.
Right, and then there are these like budgets that are like 50, 30, 20, where it's like 50% on essentials and 30% on discretionary and 20% on savings.
Exactly, yeah, I've definitely heard those.
Right, and these people always want benchmarks. They want to know, like, what should I be doing, right? Should I only be spending 50% on essentials? And the problem with those kinds of things is you look at that, and you look at how much rent you're paying in New York City or in LA or in San Francisco, and you're like, oh, well, that's impossible. I'm just going to not budget.
Well, as an educator, I would say part of that is the problem with the way that we do our grading.
Yes, very true, very true. People always want to know, like, how much should I be spending in comparison? How much is everyone else spending?
What is, just tell me the answer.
Yes, just tell me the answer. And the answer in financial planning, unfortunately, is always it depends. And it depends because of your individual needs, what your individual expenses are, what kinds of things you're actually saving for. It's going to depend on, do you have student loans? Do you have credit card debt? Are you trying to save for a house? Are you not trying to save for anything right now, And so that's the thing, is a budget needs to work for you and not the other way around. And I think that's why people are afraid to put themselves on one, because it feels like you're putting yourself on this program that someone else has prescribed for you. And you can go online and you can find these templates with these lists, and you can find all these ratios that people have come up with. And they've been very popular because it gives people an anchor. They're like, okay, I have this goal to work towards. When a budget is not a goal, a budget is a tool.
Oh, that's real. A budget is not a goal. A budget is a tool.
Hey, yo, somebody tweet that.
Because I hate budgets.
Yeah.
I hate budgeting. it's this weird, rigid thing that doesn't actually mean much to me.
Well, and it feels like this thing that we're aspiring to for some reason, when really it's all it is telling you, like, this is where your money is going. This is, this is how much you want to, this is where it all fits in. And if it doesn't fit in that way next month, that's okay. It was really just a guideline. Like, if you spent $300 on food instead of $200, but your shopping number went down, didn't it all even out at the end of the day?
But I guess, yeah.
And I think that the biggest thing with budgets is, and we're going to talk about it more after this song, is let's figure out how to start thinking about it first and figure out why it's an important tool for us, and then go into how do we use it in a way that works for us and not the other way around.
Word. Okay. Well, we're going to start out. Where are we going to start out? I've got a MC here named R&D from Deutschland, Germany, but currently living in Palestine. His name's R&D. He's got a record called Low Budget Rap, and this track is called Echt Jetzt, which is German for really now. So check him out, and we'll see you in a minute in Brunch and Budget on Fire Radio.
Demütiger, cool, R&D, yep. Du hast Gänsehaut im ganzen Leib, weil niemand so float, ja niemand so dope, das Mic rackt und niemand so rollt. Nimm mich den Demütiger, gut, ich hab's nicht mehr im Griff. Ich bin halt ein Rap-Addict, gib mir Beat und Spliff. Und ich bring sicke Rhyme-Technik, ihr lauscht im Shit, die andächtig. Dann stellt ihr fest, das ist kein Hit und die Hook bleibt nicht im Gedächtnis. Bin zum Rollen geboren, als wär ich Master Ace. Doch ohne Support von Millionen Ohren fehlen Plays. Yo, mein Rap ist nicht zu fassen, wie klitschnasse Aale. Dreckig im Untergrund, als wär schon Jahre unter Tage. Ich kann's nicht ändern, der Scheiß frisst sich durch mein Gewebe. Kommt durch die Blutbahn, ist das Fundament meines Lebens. Low Budget Rap, die eiserne Lunge für Hip-Hop. Ich steh für Rap so wie Wonderwall für Rip-Hop. Ja komm und spit doch, oder lass den Scheiß, wenn du nicht willst, dass dich der Demütiger Werber krass zerreißt. Ich bin der Beweis, dass deutscher Rap wieder dope ist und pack in jeden Track einfach die doppelte Dosis an dopen Raps mit Skills. Ihr wollt nur Sex und Grills, ich step on Set und bring Action und die echten Frills. Echt jetzt? Echt jetzt?
Ey, das ist Low-Budget-Rap, denn unser Scheiß klingt einfach so dope und fett. Wir kommen zu Cypher mit nem Backpack, nennen uns das aus für den, der Wack-Rap. Ey, das ist R&D, echt jetzt. Ey, das ist Low-Budget-Rap, denn unser Scheiß klingt einfach so dope und fett. Wir kommen zu Cypher mit nem Backpack, nennen uns das aus für den, der Wack-Rap. Ey, das ist R&D, echt jetzt.
Ja, wie der Herr, so sein Geschirr, yo, mein Rap ist aus der Form. Und mit meinen langen Haaren spreche ich sicher nicht enorm von eurem Prototyp bei Panda Bear in Yeezys. Tut mir leid, doch euer Scheiß ist mir zu cheesy. Das ist so mies wie durch den Vaporizer Peace ziehen. R&D, das Masterpiece mit purem Beat, so. Ich schmeiß Perlen vor die Säule mit jedem Satz, den ich schreib. Schwör diesem Rap-Scheiß meine Treue und kreier mir keinen Hype. Was hält ich auch davon? Ich mach's hier eh nicht für Kohle. Wird irgendwann mal broke, das zeitliche Segen und pass mir die Bohle, Alter. Ich krieg den asozialen Penner in mir einfach nicht raus. Und meine Bars sind wahre Renner, eure ruhen sich noch raus. Das ist der Sound für die Crackheads. Freestyle-Rapper mit Backpacks und für die Businessmen mit Headsets. Wenn das in deinen Ohren wack ist, hast du Rap nicht verstanden, denn das ist Hardcore-Rap-Shit.
Rap, denn unser Scheiß klingt einfach so dope und fett. Wir kommen zu Cypher mit nem Backpack, nennen uns das aus für den, der Wack-Rap. Ey, das ist R&D, echt jetzt. Ey, das ist Low-Budget-Rap, denn unser Scheiß klingt einfach so dope und fett. Wir kommen zu Cypher mit nem Backpack, nennen uns das aus für den, der Wack-Rap. Ey, das ist R&D, echt jetzt. Echt jetzt.
Und wir sind zurück. Das war exakt von R&D auf Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio. That was R&D with Really
off.
Now. What?
Showing off.
I was just saying things with words. I was providing sounds.
You were providing sound in German.
You were talking all of this stuff about, providing sound in English. So I felt like, I should, flip it up a little bit for folks.
With your German.
Yeah. That was R&D with Echt Jetzt, or Really Now. And we're here talking about budgets.
We're talking about budgets in English. Hey, yo, everybody. So, budgets, what it really means to budget. And again, before the song, it was very much, I think people have this, fear of what that means. And I think budgets also equate with finance and looking at finance. And there's this inherent sense of, judgment that comes with budgeting. What's your budget? Do you have a budget? Did you stay within your budget?
Well, long-time listeners or people who've taken Pockets Change programs with us, they know about the money personalities.
Yes.
And if you are an avoider, that's often why.
Right.
Because the thing about avoiders is, because I feel like I have a number of avoider tendencies, is avoiders they're not unaware of their finances. They just hate looking at finances.
Right.
Because it's a terrible reminder of how irresponsible you are.
Yeah.
I think because, the worry and avoider, we have the two sides of the coin. And there's a lot of self-shame in that area.
Yes.
I think a lot of us deal with self-shame with money.
Yeah, and I think part of that is because we are taught to keep it a secret.
Right, we're taught to keep it a secret. We're taught to be responsible with it. If you don't have enough, well, that's because you're a bad person. If you have enough but spend too much, it's because you're a bad person.
Yes, it's always because you're a bad person. If you're not a good saver, well, that's the other funny thing. Is
well, it's like something's wrong with you.
Yeah, if you're not this, if you're not that, if you're not responsible, and first of all, what the hell does that even look like? Because no one ever defined it. We all came up with it ourselves, right? We're all oh, well, I should be this because of whatever thing that I heard in my childhood, or whatever random thing somebody taught me, or someone handed me this spreadsheet in high school to tell me how to budget, and I've never been able to stick to it, so I must not be good at money. And there's this weird idea of being good or not being good at money, when that's pretty ridiculous if you think about it. There's no good or not good about something like money. When you take all of that meaning away from it, it's just what do you do with it, and how do you use it? And really, when you start with thinking about your spending in a different way, and you don't think about it as this thing where someone judges you, or that you should be judging yourself, or there's any shame around it, then starting to think about that moving forward makes it easier to make any changes that you actually want to make. Because again, a budget is a tool, not the goal, right?
Yeah, I'm still sitting on the good at money, whether you can be, or whether it matters to be good at money. Because I know other people are still going to think that, no matter what you think in yourself. So that has to really be a self-meditative idea of letting go of the concept of being good at money.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I imagine people think that I am good at money, whatever that means, right? You learned money. You are a learned money person or something.
I think you're good at money. That's why. Wait, do we have to stop doing this radio? Are you not good at money? That's why people are listening, because you're good.
Because I'm good at money,
No,
right?
it's over, y'all.
It's over. I'm sorry, you guys.
2
Shut
years
it down.
and then we're done. Nobody's good at money. That's the conclusion.
Nobody's good at money. That's it. The end. Thank you all for listening. No, I mean, I don't really think of myself as good at money, if that makes sense, I guess. I think that I have learned how the financial system works. I think that I understand a little bit more about how cash flow works and how personal cash flow works, and understand the psychological relationship that people have with money, so I can talk to them about it. But what is the definition even of good at money? When did I become good at money, and was I ever not good at money?
Well, you were not good at money when you were a baby, and thus were just an expense.
When I was oh my God, you're right. I was terrible at money then.
Right, when you learn how to not be an expense and become an asset, then you're good at money. Am I using all the right words?
You throw another one in there, and maybe we'll talk. I mean, the thing with being good at money is it's so. I think the problem that I have with that phrase in general is it sort of implies that you can be bad at it. And I think that the good and bad dichotomy when it comes to money is a dangerous one, because then it's like, oh, I'm just so bad at math, so fuck it. I'm just not going to do it.
Well, it's funny how little math and
Yeah.
money have to do with each other.
Right, exactly. But you start identifying yourself as these things. It's like, oh, I'm never going to be good at money, or I'm just not good at money, so it's okay, or I just don't need to budget, or I will never be good at budgeting because I'm not good at money. And
Yeah, I
that's
think
the
it's-
scary thing about defining yourself as good or bad at something.
Yeah, that's what I think of it as. Is, you know, it's not like, oh, I'm bad at math, so I'm bad at money. It's, oh, I'm bad at money, so why should I even bother?
Yeah, why should I even bother? I'm just gonna like float along and see what happens. And I think that when you realize that it's not you being good or you being bad, because at the end of the day, how can you be good at something that you just have to do all the time? And what does that even mean? Like, when you're good at money, does that mean like, oh, you know how to save it and you don't know, and you know how to not spend it? Is that it? Is that the extent of it? When people think about what good at money means, like, what do you think about when you hear that phrase, dialect? Because people say that,
Yeah,
or I'm not good at it.
yeah, I don't know, man, because it's tough. Because as again, you know, I'm an educator, so I hear someone say I'm not good at something. I'm like, well, we can figure out how we can work
on
around
it.
that. So I'm not. I don't know if I'm like the average cat, but I guess thinking about it with myself and trying to like reach back into times when I had that perspective. I guess to a degree, I still have that perspective. I don't know. It seems hopeless because we have no background. There's no. I don't know what the money standard is. I know that if I can make more of it, I can not be worried about it.
Does that mean you're good at money when you make more of it?
It doesn't matter.
Mm.
I think that's part of the thing is you can either be good at money, which means I know what to do with the money I have and I can juggle. And I think that's something that people think about you.
Mm-hmm.
That
Right.
Pam is good at money. No matter how much money anyone gives her, she's going to spin
She's
that
gonna
in
know
gold.
yeah, and I'm gonna be so efficient about all of it.
She's not. You're not only going to be so efficient, but like you're going to turn around and have like 3 times that amount,
I wish. Oh my god, y'all.
like nothing.
Yeah. Right. It's like I guess it means like I know what to do with it, right? And maybe that's what it comes down to. And really, I feel like the words that we should use aren't good because that's vague as shit, right? It's like I'm good at it or I'm bad at it, and then you have these feelings about it that you don't know what to do with because there really is no meaning behind the phrase "I'm good at money."
Well, because then the thing about not being good at money, making more money is I can go hire someone once I have enough money.
Who's good at money? And
Right. So someone like you
Yeah.
who's good at money, and then you can use your good at money skills to make sure I keep my money. I just have to make sure I don't get jerked.
Right. So you never have to be good at money. Is that if you have enough money, then you don't have to be good at money.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the thesis.
That's so crazy. So I kind of want to put different words in there, and we talked about this before when we were talking about financial literacy back in April, and I think it's more of like having a confidence and feeling like you're capable. And I feel like that people don't think they're good at money because they feel like I don't know enough. If I just knew more, if I just had more knowledge, if I just read more tips, if I read more blogs, then I'd finally be good at money. And really, that's not what it's about. It's not about like knowing a bunch of stuff and then knowing what to do at every situation. It's part of it is feeling confident in the knowledge base that you do have and knowing where to turn for help. And the other part of it is like feeling capable enough to make decisions based on what you know already. And part of it too is like being okay with like understanding that it's you will make mistakes, and we all will. Even people who are good at money, quote unquote, will feel like they made a mistake, or they did something wrong, or they didn't do something perfectly. And I think that is how to start thinking about spending. Is like there's no right way to do it. There's no good way to do it. There's no perfect way to do it. It is really about you and your own needs and your own goals. And the first thing to understand when it comes to spending is to really know where it's going. and to figure out where it's going without judgment. And like I said, you can't base a budget that is not in reality. So before you even start writing down numbers or making any guesses, go to a tool like Mint.com or any other budgeting app and put all your data in, or put all your information in, or go to your bank statement and download all their transactions, whatever you want to do, and just spend some time looking at where the money is going. Because that is really what the basis of your budget should be. It should not be this fantasy. It should not be this like, well, if I was good at money, my budget would be like this. It should be based on where you actually spend your money. And when you look at it and you see the numbers and you have a reaction to certain numbers, it's not because you were bad at money. It's because, oh, that's really not where I wanted my money to go. And I think that's the first thing, is being aware of the fact that you do have an idea in your head of where you want your money to go, and sometimes it doesn't go that way because of life or whatever, or some lack of awareness that you had of it in general, because money is this weird fluid thing that we think we can manage every penny, and that's crazy. That would drive someone crazy.
We can't? Isn't that what you do? To manage every penny.
Oh my God, no, I would drive myself crazy if I managed every penny. And this is why I hate the idea of budgeting. It's this image of you like counting coins and counting pennies and knowing where every dollar goes. And it's not a matter of knowing where every dollar goes so much as it is, what is the general direction of my spending and is in line with the things that I value.
Well, when we talk about money and we always talk about money personalities and things like that. The psychology of how you deal with money is more important than your actual what's going on with the money stuff.
The actual
sometimes.
Output, yeah.
Because sometimes what you do about money is not about what you're doing about money. It's about some whole other stuff.
Yep, exactly. It's so much a reflection of your emotions and what's going on inside. You know?
Again, money is a reflection of how you spend your money, how you make your money, what you do with your money is a reflection of what you value.
Yes. And sometimes it can also be a reflection of how you're feeling at the time, It can be a reflection, like I talk to clients who, they come to me and they're like, oh man, I spent too much money on X this month. And it's like, well, what was going on? Was work crazy? Were you not able to cook this month for one reason or another? We've all been there. We've all had months where you're like, shit, I just wasn't able to cook this month. My food budget's insane. Or, oh man, my shopping was out of control because XYZ, And it's one thing to, have these one-offs or know where it's coming from and know the reason. And it's another thing to have no idea why that happened. And I think that's the big difference, is knowing, reflecting back on the month and being like, oh yeah, that's why that happened, and not wondering like, oh my God, I'm so crazy, I'm so bad at this. Like, why did I do that, right? There's always that question of like, why did I do that? Why did I spend all that money? It's like, well, think about it. Think about what's going on in your life. Think about what kinds of things you were trying to relieve, what kind of stress, what kind of emotional something you were trying to relieve that month, and reflect on that and think about like, was spending this money a necessary thing for me to do to get through that time?
Right.
And that's totally okay. And that's, I think we beat ourselves up on top of the fact that we're already going through something. We beat ourselves up for the fact that we spent too much money that month on it. And I think that's also why people are afraid of budgets, because it is such a reflection of your life at the time in a lot of ways. And to feel like you're a mess on your money on top of that is so crazy.
Well, that's where the real judging comes in, right?
Yeah.
Because the thing that a budget is an accurate snapshot of what you're doing with your money.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes we don't put our money where we value, at least internally.
Right.
And we're waiting until we have enough or until we're good at money.
Right.
Or, some other like weird deservy type of situation before we start putting our money where our mouth is. I mean, in many cases, it's simply impossible to keep your money out of certain pockets.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking the other day when we were doing, not the other day, it was a while back now, when I was doing my investment stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And being like, I don't like spending money with these certain companies. Oh, look, I already am. And
Yeah.
It's really, well, I mean, it's very difficult. That's one of the annoying problems with all the monopolies we have going on and everybody owning everybody is you don't have a lot of options out there.
Right. It feels like
So-
you don't have a lot of choice.
When that already is a thing that exists, because, I feel like I'm more so than a number of other people, I'm pretty aware, pretty cognizant of where my money goes, and I do a pretty decent job. I'm fairly happy with myself, even after looking at those things.
Right.
With me being the guy who puts his money where his mouth is, and it took me mad years to get there. And I know a number of years, even very recent years, where I've compromised hardcore on where I get my money and where I spend my money. And looking at that is awful.
Yeah.
Especially when you're told that if you're good at money, you'll be able to rearrange those percentages that you look at your mint.coms or
Right.
any other thing that shows you the stuff that you're doing.
Right.
And here you are with not enough and being a failure at the stuff, and you're like a hypocrite, I guess,
Yeah.
because all of this doesn't support what you really feel on the inside or what you think you feel on the inside. So now you want to question yourself. There's a lot of recrimination.
Yeah. There really is. And, and on top of that, you don't talk about it with anyone. So you're doing this all to yourself and you have no outlet to talk about it with someone. And then you start to feel this shame and you start to feel like I can't talk about it with anyone because all they're going to do is judge me because that's all I'm doing.
Whoa, it's like a bathroom type of situation. We were recently audience members on a crack.com podcast. I'm featured. I asked a question.
Yeah. Listen to the podcast.
Listen
guys.
to Crack. I don't know if you guys listen to crack.com or read it. It's a pretty fun website. They're funny and they say some informative stuff. And they were talking about stupid arguments that people have that they get very passionate about. And one of the very serious ones that I really don't understand it personally, but people get so into it is which way you leave toilet paper when you hang the toilet paper roll.
Right. And people are like, over.
Yeah, for you non-bidet users.
Yeah, well, for me, I just don't put it on the toilet roll.
Yeah.
I
but,
just realized.
What I do is I juggle 3 rolls while I'm using the bathroom, and whichever one I'm holding when I'm finished
that's crazy.
is how I use.
But no one would know that you do that.
You see, I assume that everyone does that because the conclusion. Well, one of the conclusions they came to that I thought was really amazing is, maybe your parents come in with you the first couple of times you do things, but for the most part, you develop your bathroom routine on your own.
And your habits and how you should hold the toilet paper.
And like money, we don't really talk about this.
And we don't really know how anyone else does it.
So we get so used to the way we do it, it becomes offensive to do it another way.
Yes.
And it sounds silly as we're saying it now, like doesn't matter, where you in your private bathroom hang your toilet paper roll or what your whole routine is for any of those things, but it's yours.
It
becomes so essentially a part of you.
It's yours and it's private and it's this thing where you're like, yeah, and it is. And with money, it's even more of a reflection, It's you looking back at your shit and being like,
well, because
no pun intended.
Well, because it's all of those things plus a very public thing and something that people place a lot of value judgment on.
Yes. So how do we start thinking about this? How do we make looking at your expenses an exercise in self-reflection?
Yeah, what is the non-sad version of all this?
Yeah, and we talk about it a lot on the show, and we've gone over this ad nauseum, I feel like, but I think it's important to go over it again. And it's the urgent important matrix, and this is the crux of how we talk about spending on the show, in our pocket exchange workshops, all of that kind of stuff. The crux of it is sort of categorizing your money not in food or shopping or entertainment or whatever these things are, because we have these weird value judgments on what we should be spending and what we actually are spending. So there's this like push and pull between like, oh, I buy coffee every day, I shouldn't buy coffee every day, or oh my god, I just bought that thing that I really wanted, but I shouldn't have done that, and why shouldn't you have done that, right? Like, what is the reason why, except for that you feel bad afterwards? Because one, there's no frame of reference that we've given ourselves, And 2, it's like, oh man, if I didn't spend that, I would have had more money. And that's a weird thing that people think too. It's like, if I just didn't spend that money, I would have more money. Or maybe it would have gone somewhere else.
Right.
Because if you're not aware of it, it's not the fact that you spent it on this particular thing. It's the fact that you didn't know what you wanted to do with it except for spend it. Right?
Well, that's the thing with money, right? You either spend it or you save it.
Or you wait to spend it.
Even saving it is just waiting to spend it. Even
Yeah.
if you're saving it for your kids' college, you're still waiting to spend it.
That's really what saving is at the end of the day. And if you think about it that way, and we've talked about in workshops that you should consider saving another stream of income, a future stream of income, in fact, because you are just really waiting to spend it.
I was always perplexed as a kid by the Christmas Carol story, which goes so hard with the idea that Ebenezer Scrooge, the rich guy, is like all this work to save up this money, and he never spends it, and he's like a sad, mean old guy. And at the same time, people are telling you, save your money, save your money, save your money. And I never knew how to reconcile, because that story is told in so many different forms.
Yeah.
Through a number of cultures. I know it's based in Christmas, but it's a lot of different cultures get to hear that story in forms, and the sentiment is very, very real and very popular.
It's true.
So when you're young, you're like, well, okay, so I shouldn't be this guy. That's crazy, but
you're also telling me I should save and not spend my money.
yeah, like when
Which
do
is what
I
this
spend?
guy did.
How do I not become a miser?
Yeah, exactly. So I think we should roll to a song, and then we're going to talk about some tools that you can use right now to start being more mindful about your spending, ways to set yourself up so that you can save, and also let's talk about an annual cash flow or an annual budget for individuals and why that could be a cool thing to do.
Word. We're gonna play some of my favorite MCs. I haven't heard from these guys in a while. I remember talking about money and budgets. These guys, their first single as a duo was called "Money, Power," Scarlett Johansson. Because who needs respect, right? Their name is Crazy Low Budget. Dust Mite and Chuck Rhythm. Just astounding, wonderful, crazy odd MCs. Check out their song "Eatin' Microdots," and we'll check you in a minute. Bunch of Budget, Bonfire Radio.
What up, New York? Life is fucking crazy, yo. I'll murder reverse, murderer show, murder the tax man. It's Dostoevsky lighting fires and trash cans, just trying to keep my hands warm, relax and stay calm, and bury my acorn before the mothership takes off. Yeah, it's the notes from the future dark age of global climate disruption and climactic eruptions of a culture of mass consumption approaching the grand conjunction. But yo, I just came to this party to take a shit in the oven. Yeah, it's that kind of party. I'll stick my dick in the mashed potatoes, so sick I can rap tornadoes round you little bitch ass cicadas, always buzzing with your white noise. You bout to get drowned out. You perpetrating and you bout to get found out. A roundhouse, the motherfucking teeth from your mouth. Send them clattering like change across the feet of your spouse. I'm beating you down, so just take it and shut the fuck up. Word to Martha, dump truck, chuck your guns up. What the fuck? Dust on a killing spree, so beware, man. Trying to catch me's like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. My raps are lethal in the streets of Brooklyn, smacking people. Some folks are so gassed I could hydro-frack their ego and power a speedboat. Skate off to Puerto Rico. I get alive for the people when I grab the mic and divide by zero. So here we go. It's crazy low when we back. Took a few years off, but now rap's getting body bagged. Hey yo, it's Dustin Psycho Chuck, eating microdots, crushing mics to microdust. What up? You'll get chucked in front of a bus and stuck the fuck up like yo, put your hands up. What up? It's Chuck and that Psycho Dust, so turn the bass up, yeah, turn the mics up. What up? Most of you rappers fucking suck, so motherfucker, what? Oh shit. Only a cigarette. I got the head the shape of a globe, minus the frontal lobe. Ramming motherfuckers like a buffalo. Never mind the voices, I hear my thoughts aloud as if I had a Greek chorus telling me to punch tourists. in my discontented winter. Even though my jersey's hanging from the Barclays Center rafters like a ninja, call me Mr. Psycho. Banned from the Bible, reading books in the book depository. Where's my rifle? Eject your brains from your head like Nintendo and blow on it. Then I'ma have dust stomp on it. I got more sonnets than motherfuckers with white wigs, leaving metal in the microwave. The light of day not gonna be seen anytime soon. I'm drinking Seagrams, throwing televisions out the window like I'm Keith Moon. Yo, I ain't no drummer, but I might drop your tempo when I slice you with the ride cymbal. Snap the hi-hat, closed on the fingers of your favorite indie rock songwriter slash singer. Hey, watch out, buddy. Your banjo's about to get smashed all over the train platform on Metropolitan Ave. Here's Johnny, the way I walk a line makes cash. My name is Psycho Chuck, and that's short for psychopath, so step off.
And welcome back. Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio, Stinger Club Originals, Crazy Low Budget, Chuck Rhythm and Dust Mite with Eaton Micro Dots.
Eating micro dots.
Yeah,
Cool
it's
name.
it's a drug reference,
Oh,
right?
okay. Now I know.
Pam is money smart, maybe not drug smart.
Yeah. It's true.
But it's okay because people are into, people want you to be smart with money. You don't necessarily need to be an adept drug user.
right.
There's a lot of stuff
That's
like that. We're
true.
like, you don't need to be good at it to do it, right? You don't need to be good at drugs. You just do.
You just do them.
You just do them. I guess that's what counts at being good at them. If you do them and are still standing up, you're good at it.
For drugs or money too.
Well, I was saying drugs, but it would be nice if we had that low of a threshold for money. Like I
In our
spent all
own
this
heads,
money and I'm
right?
still okay.
Yeah, look, I'm still here. Well, that's the other thing too. Is like I feel like people are like, well, I spent all this money and I guess I'm not good at it, but fuck it, I'm still alive. I'm still around.
I guess, but that's not. Is that really the point? Is like that that you didn't die. That money is the thing that kept you from dying. I guess that in terms of that means that you eat regularly. So that's good on that. But
I
that's a
think
skill that your parents teach you.
Yeah, I think that's often a consolation too for people. It's like, well, I'm still here. Or I feel like it's a very money monk. Speaking of money personalities, it's like, we're still here.
But what about the actual when it breaks you out of where you're able to deal? 'Cause what about when it does affect your life?
Right.
How do you deal with budgets then? Because it's all well and good to be like, oh, you've got money, and yeah, you spent a little bit of it, but you got more coming in. What happens when you have a tight budget? Because when you have kids, budget gets tight, and not
Yeah.
only does the budget get tight, but you gotta go outside of it when your kids want and or need something, because
Yeah.
that's just like that. I remember being real poor as a kid, and then being like, oh, Mom, I actually desperately need money for this thing for school because it was important to me, and I didn't,
Right.
And my mom, I didn't even know, like, she didn't have $100 to our name at the time, and then she's giving me 20 for it for a thing at school,
Oof.
and then she has to figure out what to do
What
with
to
that.
do with the rest? Yeah, I mean that is definitely a whole other show. I feel like.
When budget, yeah. So
Yeah, when budgeting is tight. I mean, no, it could be a whole other show because it is really. And I've read a lot of stuff, and we've talked about what it really is like to be poor in America on this show.
well, and even when you're not poor per se, but your budget outside of your means to the point where it affects your ability to spend on necessities.
Right, exactly. Well, and then I think it's time to start really taking a hard look at both sides of the equation when it comes to the income and when it comes to the expenses. And that's what I mean when I say both sides of the equation is there's the income side and the expense side. And, at the beginning we joked about just like make more money, but that might actually be the answer. And not that you're going to be able to turn around or turn some kind of money spigot or money faucet on and be like, oh, I just needed to make more. Oh, how simple. But recognizing that what you're doing is not making enough money for the basic necessities that you have is something that you do need to be aware of, and you do kind of need to say out loud and be like, okay, so I'm in this position where I am not making enough to actually make ends meet. And there's a big difference between actually not having enough and not covering your necessities and just, and just not knowing where your money is going in the first place. So I think that first it's recognizing that and recognizing whether or not you're making enough money to meet your basic needs. And if you're not, then it's really time to see if there's anything you can do about that. And I'm not saying even that there is. Like, I don't have the answer to that, honestly.
But there's a great distinction in what you're saying to be made. There's a difference between not making enough money to suit your needs and not being good at money. Because just because you don't make enough money, that's not an indicator that you're not good at money.
Right, exactly.
That's not, well, again, we're trying to break out of this idea of being good at money or not being good at money. It feels like an easy thing to say. It's like, oh, I don't make enough, so it must be something wrong.
Yeah.
There must be something wrong with me
for
not making enough.
Right. And it's when you take away that sort of judgment on it, because it's another judgment call, but when you take that away, then I feel like, because when you have it, you're like, oh, well, I'm just stuck here and I don't have another way out. And when you take away that judgment of I just don't have enough, I'm not good at it, then it may open up your mind to be like, well, what are my other options, right? What else can you do? What are the other ways? What are the other things out there? And to just start looking and to start seeing if there's other ways to make supplemental income. And also, there is power in knowing how much more you actually need to make. Because I feel like what tends to happen is people don't actually know the numbers, or they shy away from them. And part of it is because it makes it feel more real when you finally have numbers to something, right? It's like, shit, I have to look at this now. But on the other side of that, a lot of that means that you actually know and you have something to measure against. And it's not something to measure your worth or measure your value or whatever, but it's something where you have something to work towards. It's something you can measurably say, I need to get to that point, and your brain will start filling in how to get to that point. And I've seen it happen with clients where we look at their numbers and they don't quite have enough to meet their expenses, and a couple months later I'll check in and they'll be like, I got a second job. I'm supplementing my income this way. I'm doing a side thing now. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I've seen it happen where people fill in the gap once they know what the actual gap is. Because then you know in your head, like, oh, okay, well, that is manageable. That's an amount that I can manage too, versus, oh my God, I just don't make enough. I have no idea.
Well, you have to figure out how to deal. And again, with a budget being a tool rather than a judgment, if you're more aware, you can figure out what you need to do next.
Yeah.
And that goes across all sorts of income levels.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing that we tend to talk about on the show a lot when it comes, like, going back to budgeting and spending is the urgent important matrix. And the urgent important matrix is this way to think about your money, not in categories or assigning these, like, typical categories that we see, like food and shopping and entertainment and whatever, and travel, but to think about it more as like a value, your personal values, and where your spending lines up with those. And so if we start with the top left box of the matrix, it is the urgent and important box. And this is the box that is your necessities, it's your I absolutely have to spend money on this. These are your needs. These are your rent, utilities, transportation, all of that kind of stuff. And so the urgent important matrix at the very top is, okay, so this is money that I have to spend, and I know I have to spend it. And then in the right below it is the urgent and not important box. And the urgent and not important box is, okay, so I really need my coffee every day. And I don't want to have to give it up. And I know that I don't need it, and I don't need it to live, but I want to need it.
Well, it's an emotional necessity.
It's an emotional necessity. Yeah, that's a good way to think of it. It's just like, and I hate, I feel like we might need better words for this at some point, because it's not important. It's just like not essential to you living and surviving, but it is essential to you being able to get through the day.
And a lot of times it is essential to you making enough money.
Yes, to be able to do that. And I feel like there's this great South Park episode that really had me, understand what that meant. There was this guy smoking in a bar, and I don't even remember the exact line, but the essence of it stuck with me. It's like, let me fucking have this. It's like, yeah, I know that I shouldn't be spending money on cigarettes, but I had a long fucking day, and I'm going to smoke a cigarette, and I'm going to smoke cigarettes in my life. And I was just like, where'd I get that?
Of all the things that you could learn from South Park, Pam learned, smoke cigarettes, it's okay. We here at Bonfire Radio don't necessarily endorse any drug using.
No, we
don't. But I guess
don't.
since we started the segment talking about it.
There we go. No, but it's just like, let me have my coffee, right? Let me have my thing that gets me through the day.
Not always some sort of drug.
It doesn't have to be some sort of drug. It could be doing your nails every week. I don't know. So that's okay too. I think that's something that's worthwhile to work into your budget and to not feel bad about spending money in that box. And in general, don't feel bad about spending money, right? It's not oh my God, I'm horrible and I shouldn't have done that. It's really just, again, the urgent important box is really an awareness thing. And so the next to it is the not urgent, not important matrix. And that is really the money where you're like, shit, where did that go?
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea where it went every month, and it kind of meant nothing to you. We like to call it the black hole of your spending, because money just kind of disappears in there and never comes back. And it didn't give you any emotional awesomeness at the time, and, it something that you forgot that you actually spent money on in the first place. And we all know those. And when you actually look at your budget, you can actually pinpoint those. And then the very top right corner, we have the urgent and not important box. And this is the box that we don't spend, it's the not urgent but important box, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
It is the important and not urgent box. And
See,
the
that's
not
why I flip the order when I say it.
yes. And it is the box where it's not urgent, so it's not on your mind on a regular basis. But it is important. It is that future spending. It is that future money. And so one of the ways that I feel like, and it's the part that we don't spend a lot of time on. And so I think one of the most important things about that box is that it is the pay yourself first box. This is a way to actually not have to budget, is to pay yourself first, to put away money for the future right now, and then the rest is yours. The rest is yours to spend right now if you pay yourself first. And then you don't have to worry about which category it goes in, or if you're spending too much money on this or that. It's just, this is it. This is what you have because you've done a good job of putting it away.
Yeah, and it can start with any number.
Any number.
We can't reiterate this enough. Please pay yourself first.
Pay yourself first, any number at all.
Don't worry about, well, you see, the thing is, don't worry about the budget that's coming through in the future and the needs that you have for it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to let go a little bit of your future responsibilities and remind yourself that you have a responsibility to you.
Yes, absolutely. So we're out of time. One thing that I did want to talk about that we didn't get to, and I think we should just do another show on it, is can you have a personal annual budget? Can you do a personal 12-month cash flow if you're not a business?
Well,
we should
I
explore
figure
that.
you can, right?
I figure you can, and I would give it a shot. I would think about because what tends to happen is you have these big spikes like car insurance or, paying for one giant expense suddenly, and everyone has those, and that kind of throws off your budget too. But if you kind of knew on a big level, big picture basis what it was, then maybe see what it feels like to map out 12 months. So that's a whole other show. We got to roll out right now. Thank you so much for listening.
All right. We want to thank everybody for listening. We want to encourage you to make sure that you say stuff on iTunes or any other place that you happen to hear us. If you hear people playing our stuff down the street, yell in the direction of the sound you're hearing. And we're going to finish off with Macon George's Allah's Apprentice and learning how he lives on a $20 budget. Song $20 budget. Check you next week. Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio. Peace.
Yeah. What's up, Kareem? Hey, man. This song for everybody, you know what I'm saying, that, They need some funds. I ain't got nothing. I mean, you got funds, but you need funds. You like this, man.
I'm rolling to the store on the $20 budget, $20 budget, $20 budget. And if you know about it, then go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it. I'm rolling to the store on the $20 budget, $20 budget, $20 budget. And if you know about it, then go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it. 21s, 4 5s, 2 10s, 120. Yes, I got some money, but my pennies ain't plenty. Pockets not empty, but they got a lot of room. My car just go brrr, cause I can't afford to own. This girl asked a dude if he ballin', said he might be. She came and asked me, and I told the girl no. Don't have a lot of bread, see, just a little dough. Some have a lot of cheese, I just have a Cheeto. Hey, it's cool though, cause I make it work like a job. Saving up my pennies, I be building like balls. When I hit the grocery, I just play it cool. Wanna save your money? Let me tell you what I do. I look for the cereal that costs the least cash, so I don't get the boxes, I just get the bags. Folk be getting name brands even though they broke. I just keep it real and get the ones made by the store. Hey, I'm rolling to the store on the $20 budget, $20 budget, $20 budget. And if you know about it, then go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it. I'm rolling to the store on the $20 budget, $20 budget, $20 budget. And if you know about it, then go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it. My funds getting slim and I see it's not a game, so I look for any store that's got dollar in its name. Family Dollar, Dollar General, they all work. Anything else just make my eyes hurt. See high prices in my pockets don't get along. I wish Bob was here, cause right now the price is wrong. When I see him thinking that's too much, cause me and big money, man, we kinda out of touch. Now I'm an honest man, and I ain't grimy, but don't tempt me wearing penny loafers around me. It's kinda messed up, and even kinda scary. But one day I was thinking about the Tooth Fairy. Looking around at folks smiling in the street, I thought to myself, now that's a whole lot of teeth. Everybody know a rapper loves a apprentice, but if you got a loose tooth, I'll be your dentist. I'm rolling to the store on the $20 budget, $20 budget, $20 budget. And if you know about it, then go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it. I'm rolling to the store on the $20 budget, $20 budget, $20 budget. And if you know about it, then go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it. If I said I was ballin', then I'd just be an actor. See, I ain't broke now, I'm just kinda fractured. A dude came to me and asked me for some change. He ain't know, but I was about to ask him the same thing. There was a thief and he tried to rob me blind. I showed him what I had and he just said never mind. Then the cop stopped me, said that I was out of line. I asked why, they said you so poor it is a crime. It's worse than that though, cause man, one time I followed snitches round cause I heard they dropped down. I ain't a sports fanatic, but it was rough, boss. Up at the games, man, waiting on the coin toss. At the parties, I be looking for the DJ. I always tell them, man, put that Wayne on the replay. This the way, that the way, don't stop. Cause when they make it rain, I just catch the raindrops. So I'm rolling to the store on the $20 budget, $20 budget, $20 budget. And if you know about it, then go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it. I'm rolling to the store on the $20 budget, $20 budget, $20 budget. And if you know about it, then go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it, go ahead, bump it.
Yo, man. Shout out Dollar June. Salvation Army, I see you. What's up? It be hard out here, you know, sometimes, but we making moves and we moving up. But until then, let me hit that Kroger band real quick, you know what I'm saying? Publix, what's up? And that's about it.